In this video, I'll show you exactly when and how U.S. citizenship can actually be lost, how safe your own status really is, and what the latest immigration changes mean for your visa, green card, and travel plans, so that by the end, you'll know whether you're truly at risk or just hearing rumors. If you've ever worried that one mistake could cost you everything, stay with me. Welcome to U.S. citizenship and visa. Today's topic is serious, but understanding it can bring you a lot of peace of mind. Yes, there are real situations where a person can lose U.S. citizenship, and many people don't realize how it actually works. The goal here is not to create fear, but to bring clarity. When you know the rules, you usually feel calmer, more prepared, and more in control of your journey. This is general information, not legal advice. This channel does not represent the government or act as your attorney. The purpose is simply to explain things in a clear, calm, and supportive way, so you don't feel lost or overwhelmed. Many people believe that once you become a U.S. citizen, nothing can ever change. You get your passport, you vote, you feel settled, and it seems permanent. Legally, it is very strong, but not completely without exceptions. Citizenship in the United States is highly protected, but it isn't absolutely bulletproof. There are specific laws and processes for reviewing cases where something may not have been done correctly. That doesn't mean the government is hunting for ways to take citizenship away. It means citizenship is taken seriously, and the path to getting it must be honest and lawful from start to finish. Before talking about how citizenship can be lost, it's important to understand who is considered a citizen in the first place. Some people are citizens by birth. They were born in the United States or in certain U.S. territories, or they were born abroad to at least one qualifying American parent who could pass citizenship to them. Others become citizens through naturalization. They were not born American, but they went through the immigration process, lived in the country as legal residents, passed exams, took the oath, and earned citizenship. Both groups are citizens. Both have rights. Both share protections under the Constitution. However, the law looks at their histories in slightly different ways. For people who were citizens at birth, their status is usually very secure. In almost all situations, it cannot be taken away, unless there was major fraud involving identity or birth records from the very beginning. That is extremely rare and difficult to prove. For naturalized citizens, there is a record of applications, interviews, background checks, and sworn statements. If, much later, the government discovers that something critical in that process was intentionally hidden or falsified, they have the legal power to review it again. That does not mean that every mistake can remove citizenship. It does not mean small errors will ruin your life. Reviews generally focus on intentional deception, not confusion, language difficulty, or honest misunderstandings. So as we move forward, keep one thing in mind. Most people never face citizenship problems. The rare stories you sometimes hear are often connected to serious fraud, criminal deception, or choices that directly conflict with loyalty to the United States. Let's start with a situation that surprises many people because it isn't scary at all. In fact, it's completely voluntary. The first real way someone can lose U.S. citizenship is by choosing to give it up. This is called renunciation. Renunciation is not casual, and it does not happen by accident. You don't lose citizenship because you're frustrated, because you moved abroad, or because you posted online saying you don't want to be American anymore. Renunciation is a formal process that happens face-to-face at a U.S. embassy or consulate outside the United States. You meet with an official, sign detailed paperwork, and take an oath stating clearly that you understand what you're doing. There is also a significant fee. Once it is complete, it is permanent. There is no easy undo button. People choose to renounce for different reasons. Some live permanently in another country and feel fully settled there. Others want to simplify taxes or financial systems. Some do it for personal, political, or identity reasons. Whatever the reason, the key is that it is always a personal decision. No one is forced into it. When someone renounces, they lose the right to vote in U.S. elections, lose automatic entry into the United States, and may need a visa in the future if they ever want to visit. For most people, this step never becomes part of their life. It is rare, intentional, and carefully documented. And this is important. Simply living abroad, having dual citizenship, or staying overseas for a long time does not automatically take your citizenship away. Renunciation happens only when someone specifically chooses it and completes the official process. Now let's move to the situation where many people begin to feel anxious. We'll go through it slowly and calmly. Yes, the government can remove citizenship in certain circumstances, but for naturalized citizens, it usually happens for one main reason: serious fraud during the naturalization process. This is called denaturalization. Denaturalization does not apply to everyone. It does not happen randomly. It does not happen because someone forgot a date or made a small mistake on a form years ago. It usually happens when the government discovers that a person intentionally hid something major while applying for citizenship. That might include using a false identity, concealing a serious criminal past, hiding involvement in violent or extremist groups, or lying about events that were central to the decision to approve the application. When something like that is discovered, it does not get handled quietly or secretly. It becomes a legal process in federal court. The person has the right to know what is happening, the right to respond, and the right to be represented. Nothing happens overnight. There is evidence, legal argument, review, and a decision by a judge. Most citizens never experience denaturalization because most people went through their immigration journey honestly. Even if English was difficult, paperwork was confusing, or minor mistakes were made by accident, these are rarely the kinds of things that lead to denaturalization. The focus is on clear, intentional deception, not misunderstanding. Another point that often surprises people: there is no strict time limit. The government can look back at older files if something very serious comes to light later. That does not mean they are constantly searching for reasons to remove citizenship. It means citizenship is treated as something precious, something that must be earned truthfully. If you followed the process, told the truth, showed your records, and answered honestly, then in most cases you have nothing to fear. And even when denaturalization cases do occur, they are not about punishing people who tried their best. They are about correcting situations where citizenship was granted based on information that turned out to be false. There is another area that often creates confusion and fear: associations and group memberships after becoming a U.S. citizen. In very specific cases, citizenship can be questioned when someone becomes involved with organizations that are openly hostile to the United States or that support violence against the government. This is not about opinions, disagreements, or criticism. It is not about peaceful activism, religion, culture, or normal community organizations. What usually matters here is intent and alignment with groups whose goals directly involve harming or overthrowing the United States. In the past, there have been rare cases where people joined extremist organizations, helped hostile governments, or took roles that clearly worked against U.S. national security. When something like that happens, the government may review whether the person's original oath of allegiance, the promise they made when they became a citizen, was sincere. Sometimes this review happens within the first few years after naturalization, because the law recognizes that behavior soon after citizenship can reveal someone's true intentions at the time they applied. But again, this does not apply to most people. Living abroad does not cause this. Visiting another country does not cause this. Having strong cultural, family, or emotional ties to your homeland does not cause this. Even holding strong political views does not automatically place someone at risk. These situations usually involve extreme circumstances and are reviewed carefully, slowly, and through the legal system, not through rumors, assumptions, or social media posts. If you came to the United States, worked hard, followed the law, took the oath with sincerity, and built your life honestly, then you are not the type of person these laws are aimed at. They exist for rare, serious cases, not everyday citizens living normal lives. So if you hear dramatic headlines or exaggerated stories, pause and ask, did the situation involve violence, serious deception, or direct harm to the United States? In most cases, the answer explains why that particular case happened. Now let's talk about something much more common: dual citizenship. Millions of Americans hold two passports today. Many were born in one country and later naturalized in the United States. Others were born in America to parents from somewhere else and inherited citizenship from both nations. For the most part, the United States allows dual citizenship, and it does not automatically place anyone at risk. You can visit your family, maintain your cultural roots, travel back and forth, and feel connected to both countries. That is normal, and for many families, it is a gift. However, there are rare situations where dual citizenship becomes complicated. These usually involve taking a formal position in another government, or swearing an oath that explicitly rejects loyalty to the United States. For example, if someone becomes a high-ranking official in a foreign government that conflicts with U.S. interests, or signs documents declaring exclusive allegiance to another nation, the government may review whether they still intended to remain fully committed to their U.S. citizenship. Even then, it is not automatic. There is analysis, questioning, and legal review. Simply renewing a foreign passport, voting in some foreign elections, or maintaining family ties usually does not threaten citizenship. Again, the key question is intention, whether the person meant to abandon their American identity in a formal, legal way. So if you hold two passports, breathe. For most people, it is perfectly fine. Travel, study, work, care for your loved ones, and stay connected to your heritage. The law is not designed to punish people for honoring their background. It is designed to look at very specific, rare behaviors that directly contradict the oath made during naturalization. And if you are ever unsure about a complex situation, the safest step is to seek professional guidance. Not because you should be afraid, but because clarity brings peace of mind. There is one more category, often mentioned in movies and headlines: losing citizenship because of treason or actions against the United States. This is the most extreme and rarest situation of all. In very limited cases, a person can face criminal charges and the possible loss of citizenship if they actively work as an agent for an enemy government, support armed rebellion, or commit treason. These cases are not everyday situations. They involve serious investigations, clear evidence, and long legal processes in federal court. Nothing happens quickly. Nothing happens quietly. A judge must review everything. The person has rights. The system is designed to be strict, careful, and deliberate. For most people, this scenario will never come close to their life. Studying abroad, disagreeing with policies, criticizing leaders, posting opinions online, or having strong emotions about global events does not equal treason. Everyday travel, family visits, and political opinions do not lead to citizenship loss. When we talk about treason, we are talking about rare, extreme actions with deep consequences, and they are carefully proven before any decision is made. This is shared not to alarm, but to remind you that most citizens live their entire lives without ever hearing the word treason applied to anything around them. The laws exist because every country protects itself, but they are rarely used and are not designed to target ordinary people simply living their lives, raising families, working, studying, and contributing. Now, let's talk about people who were born in the United States. This is another area where rumors often create unnecessary panic. If you were born in the United States or in most U.S. territories and received citizenship at birth, your status is generally very strong and protected under the Constitution. In nearly every situation, your citizenship cannot be taken away simply because you traveled, lived abroad, made mistakes, or had relatives with immigration issues. For U.S.-born citizens, the only extremely rare exception involves fraud at the very beginning. Falsified birth records, fabricated identities, or organized scams where documents were intentionally created to show a U.S. birth that did not actually happen. These situations are hard to prove and usually come from long-running fraud rings rather than everyday families. So again, if you were born here, your citizenship is not fragile. It is not something that disappears because of misunderstandings or because your parents were not citizens at the time. The law is designed to protect people born in the country, and when rare fraud cases do arise, they go through courts, evidence, appeals, and long reviews. Not quick decisions and not guesses. Many people worry because of things they hear online. Most of the time, there is nothing to fear. Awareness is helpful. Panic is not. Now that we've covered the rare and specific situations where citizenship can be questioned, let's gently shift to something that affects far more people every day: immigration processing and the long waits many families, students, and workers are facing. If you are waiting on a decision, the process can feel slow, uncertain, and sometimes unfair. You check your case status, refresh your email, hear different stories from friends and social media, and quickly become confused. That's why here on U.S. Citizenship and Visa, the goal is to explain things in simple language, without panic and without hype. Just clear information. Across many categories, USCIS continues to work through backlogs that built up over several years. Some cases are moving faster than expected, while others take longer than the posted timelines. For example, some employment-based applications and work permits in certain offices have improved, while family-based petitions in busy regions still face delays. This doesn't usually mean anything is wrong with your case. It often means your local office is handling thousands of files at the same time, and each one must be checked carefully. When you see "case is being actively reviewed," it usually means your file is in the queue, not forgotten. When you see no updates for months, it is frustrating, but still normal in many situations. The best things you can do: keep your documents organized, monitor your online account, and respond quickly and completely if USCIS asks for more evidence. You don't need to refresh your status every hour. You don't need to compare your case to everyone else's. Each timeline is slightly different, and silence does not automatically mean bad news. Many people also ask about visas. Students, workers, visitors, and families hoping to travel. Work visas like H-1B, L-1, and their dependents remain highly requested. When demand is high, processing can feel slow. Some applicants get approvals quickly, especially with premium processing, while others wait longer for background checks or administrative review. Delays do not always signal denial. Often they simply mean more verification is happening behind the scenes. For students on F-1 visas, planning ahead is critical. Schools, embassies, and USCIS all have their own timelines, and those must align. Maintaining full-time enrollment, following your program rules, and staying in touch with your school's international office are some of the easiest ways to avoid unnecessary problems. For visitors on B-1 or B-2 visas, officers mainly look for clarity, clear travel plans, proof you intend to return home, and honest explanations for why you are visiting. There is no perfect script, only truthfulness, preparation, and calm. Family members traveling or applying for visas often feel emotional stress because their plans involve weddings, illnesses, reunions, and major life events. Interviews can be delayed. Documents can be requested again. Travel plans sometimes need to be changed. It can feel deeply personal, but in most situations, these delays are procedural, not punishment. Staying patient, responding carefully, and avoiding panic-driven decisions usually helps more than anything else. When something is confusing, it's always better to seek trusted guidance rather than rely on rumors. Another large topic is the green card process. For many families and workers, a green card represents stability, long-term security, and the chance to fully build a future in the United States. But the journey can be slow. Processing times depend on the category, the country of origin, and the local office or consulate. Some people receive interview notices faster than expected, while others wait much longer. Neither experience is unusual. In family-based categories, especially for spouses and immediate relatives, processing has improved in some locations, while other field offices still have noticeable backlogs. Employment-based categories continue to shift as visa numbers open and close during the year. Priority dates may move forward, stay the same, or move backward. When that happens, people feel discouraged, but that movement is part of how the system balances demand. It does not mean your dream has disappeared. It means the timeline has changed. Interviews are another part of this journey that can create anxiety. Many people are scared of saying something wrong or forgetting a detail. But interviews are generally not designed as traps. They exist to confirm information and make sure records match. Officers usually ask about your relationship, your work, your address, your history, and basic life details. Honesty is always the safest path. If you don't remember something exactly, it is better to explain that calmly than to guess or make something up. If USCIS needs more documents, they will usually request them officially. That request can feel frustrating, but it is normal and does not automatically mean denial. Often it simply means they need clearer proof before making a final decision. Keeping copies, staying organized, and approaching each step with patience helps more than anything. Travel is another area where people worry, especially if they have pending cases. Before traveling, it is important to understand what type of status you have and whether you are allowed to leave and return. Many people with advanced parole or certain pending applications need to follow instructions carefully. Carry your documents. Allow extra time at airports. Be prepared to answer simple questions at the border. Officers are usually looking for clarity, not perfection. If you are visiting the United States on a temporary visa, the same idea applies. Be honest about the reason for your trip. Explain your ties to your home country. Show that your plans match your visa category. There is no secret trick and no magic phrase. Calm, honest communication is usually the strongest foundation. Sometimes travelers experience secondary inspection or extra questioning. That can feel intimidating, but in many cases it is routine. Officers may need to verify something in the system, confirm identity, or review previous travel records. Being respectful, patient, and cooperative goes a long way. The waiting room moments can feel endless, but most people are eventually cleared and continue their journey. It's helpful to remember that border decisions are about rules and eligibility, not personal worth. Looking at the bigger picture, immigration today is full of moving parts. Policies change, forms update, fees sometimes increase, and digital systems continue to expand. USCIS has been using more online tools for uploading documents, checking case status, and receiving notices. That can feel convenient for some and confusing for others. If you ever feel lost, take your time. Read instructions slowly. Double-check details before submitting. Don't feel pressured by rumors that say, if you don't do this right now, your case will be ruined. Most of the time, there is space to breathe and space to fix honest mistakes. The emotional side of all this is real. Waiting for a visa, a work permit, or a green card isn't just paperwork. It is your life, your plans, your family, your education, and your future. Some days feel hopeful, other days feel heavy. That is completely human. If you feel discouraged, remind yourself that millions of people have walked this road before. Many waited longer than they expected and still eventually reached their goals. Staying informed doesn't remove all stress, but it can help you feel more grounded and prepared. As we bring everything together, let's return to the main truth behind today's topic. U.S. citizenship is powerful, meaningful, and deeply protective. But it also comes with responsibilities and legal structures that exist for a reason.